both teams.
Definitely. Gotta agree there. Let's go to game number 4 as we set up the 4th battleground. And we now have Tricked Esports on the cusp of getting a victory, and if they get that win, they will win the first series here in the HGC Europe. If Zealots win, they can tie it up. We're going to Sky Temple Zealots with the choice of the battleground.
Yeah, the Zealots at this point choosing the battleground over the first pick and just simply saying, okay, on Sky, that's our best chance to come back into this and make sure that we're not losing out on it. Now, keep in mind that, of course, we're talking a lot about the matches that you want to win here, but every single map really counts. Every single phase we've played so far, we always end up towards the end of the phase in a scenario where every single map is important for the standings, and that can decide whether you are dropping down into the Crucible or you make it to the offline events if you go to the Western Clash, if you go to Mid-Season Brawl or BlizzCon. So it's super important here for the team to not only win the matches, but also get as many map wins as possible.
Important information, but calm down, Caldor. It's week number 1. You can't just drop BlizzCon on me like that.
That's important to note already.
It's pretty important.
One of the big mistakes that a lot of these guys at the beginning, when HGC started, made is that they didn't take wins serious enough right at the start of the season, and then later on the last play day on the week before, all of a sudden everybody started to calculate and was just like, okay, so we need to win 2 maps there, but we're going up against the best team in the league. If we would have put in the same effort at the beginning of the phase, maybe that would have been a bit easier for us. So it's really important for all of the players, but also for all of us to really think about how important a single map win in a series like the first one today can already be.
Every single map is important, and for those wondering what the first big tournament is going to be, it's our Western Clash, which will be in March. So be ready for that. We're a couple months out, but obviously this is all us gearing up for those big international tournaments that we love to go to. Katowice will be the place that we're moving to, so make sure to get your tickets if you want to be able to check it out. And also make sure to order the potatoes. Potatoes are quite good in Katowice. It's one of my favorite things that I enjoy there. Those are just squishy, dude.
Don't you remember the restaurant?
The restaurant was.
I mean, come on, the dessert?
The dessert was pretty amazing, but the potatoes, they stuck right up here. For game number 4, teams are getting set up and ready to go.
Are you, by the way, memeing the Kartoffel right now?
I'm not.
You know that's exactly what I said when we played that German name game the other day, and they dropped the Kartoffel on me, and I talked about potatoes and why that you guys need better potatoes here. That's exactly what I talked about. So thank you for confirming it.
Yes.
As you talk about European food.
That's exactly what I was doing. I totally watch all the content that Caldor does outside of casting with me. That's totally what I do.
What do you mean? That was on the show.
Oh, was it on the show?
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
I talk about Kartoffel.
I don't know what he's talking about. Sky Temple, game number 4, as we move into it.
Thank you. Production confirms it now as well. I'm not crazy.
I don't know how to talk my way out of this one, so I'm going to go ahead and keep moving on to the draft.
Okay, I think that's a good talking point right now.
Well, the first ban will be moving over to Tricked Esports. Abathur has been their ban trend so far. Another place they could ban here, and there it is. Abathur has been taken away.
Yeah, so Abathur once again being banned out immediately here, and that is already a little bit of a theme. I'm really curious to see how this is going to I don't think it makes a big difference for today, but I'm really curious to see how this is going to continue into the next few play days and the next few matches that take place, because that can be a glaring weakness.
Sure.
Right now, it doesn't matter too much. It's the first match the opponent has, so at this point, I don't think that Zealots is going to adapt on the fly, but it's definitely something where at some point Tricked has to be a little bit careful, because it could definitely open up opportunities for other teams to come up with strategies at home.
For me personally, I was wondering if it was going to go further. Is Abathur our new Tassadar? That's what I was actually wondering about a little bit here. But, of course, we'll have to see over the next couple of days, as you were just mentioning, who's going to be banning what and where. Greymane Interior, the pickup here for Zealots. They are wanting to bring the aggression. Their first pickup, once again, is going to be Hanzo. And we're starting to see a trend here. Hanzo seems to be pretty good in the eyes of these two teams.
Yeah, in general, as I said before, going through scrims, he doesn't have the same priority that he had, for example, in Korea. I feel from the two teams that we've seen here so far, we have seen a lot of a higher priority that I would say HGC Europe in general has on Hanzo right now. But all of that can change once the league actually starts, because before it's just training games where you're trying to get a bit of an idea. You also experiment a lot more than you would in any other setup. So the league meta is definitely going to evolve, and Hanzo has played a huge role in most of the games here. We've seen him in every single one of them so far. But we already have a few adjustments when we're talking about drafts in general. For example, when we're looking at Tyrael, it was a hero that has 3 times in a row now been by Tricked Esports. Every single time they put a high priority on him. This time, we see him in the first rotation on the side of the Zealots. And also Greymane, another hero that we have seen in every single draft so far.
Falstad was adjusted here for Tricked Esports, grabbing him in the second rotation. Typically, he's fallen off because of Genji and the pressure that can be brought towards him. I feel like Greymane still has that threat, especially with the Tyrael there to aid him in the dive. But Falstad seems to be big here for Tricked Esports as they go back to him, and we saw him in game number 1.
This is also one of the heroes I feel where you have to be a bit careful when you watched HGC Korea, because the combo with Tyrael and Falstad against a non-claimed hero when you can go into Judgment and Hinterland Blast can be brutal, especially if you play squishies in your setup.
Sure.
So that's something that Tempest abused heavily against KSV Black, and that's not really a strategy you can pull out every single time you play on this map. But with what Tricked has chosen here, with them going Lucio and Hanzo, I feel it made a lot of sense to, first of all, remove it from your opponent, add a global to your own setup, and have a great disengage as well. So every single thing around this pick and also the placement where it is has a lot of advantages for them, let's put it like that.
Well, ETC banned out, as well as Li Ming. Li Ming will not be mixed in with Greymane. She has been a high priority for both of our teams. And no longer will we have the reset. That is actually wonderful on this battleground. Typically, if you can get 1 to 2 kills right away, get that reset going in, you go straight in for a boss call, which can be great here, because Greymane brings it down, as well as Li Ming bringing in the damage. And then you have Tyrael control on top of it. Li Ming just makes sense as a ban here on Sky Temple. Yeah,
what's interesting for me outside of the bans now is also what we are seeing for the front line for Trick. Because Arthas is another hero that I expect to make an appearance.
Sure.
And for Tricked, it would really work well against Greymane. They also have Lucio, and the combo between Arthas and Lucio is a strong one. The question is, do the Zealots play around that and, for example, pick them for themselves? But they don't. They go for Rega instead, and they're picking Sonya, so I would expect that Tricked at least picks Arthas in that rotation.
Sonya, once again here for Zarmony. This was something that we saw last year, and I was wondering about. I know he has a deeper hero pool, but they play a lot of Sonya and a lot of field out here. Will we see more from the Zealots? Because I feel like that might be a weakness too. If you're always going straight into the Sonya pickup, teams can draft around that and attempt to shut her down as much as possible. So I'm hoping this year, Personal Challenge to Zarmony, we see more of his hero pool, because I know he's a capable player.
Yeah, we have seen Sonya involved in every single one of these games today so far. We have seen the Zealots pick Sonya twice, and then it was even banned out by Tricked on the 3rd map. So they simply said, hey, we're going to deny Zarmony Sonya, and let's see what they can do with that. Now on the 4th map, Li Ming was banned over Sonya, and that gives the Zealots again the chance to head straight into it, and they do. And when we're talking about picks, Tricked actually decides that they don't go into Arthas. They pick Malthael right now and Nubarak. So with the Nubarak, they again have the potential setup where they can first of all deny Rega's heal, which is super important with this, but they also have a few setups where they can try and jump onto the Cocoon target. Malthael has played a huge role in the win on Inferno Shrines, but I could have really seen them just swap out Malthael with Arthas here and go for the 2 of them. So Arthas is not going to make an appearance here.
I do like what you already mentioned, being able to find a Cocoon and take them out. I love the idea of Lucio and Tormented Souls being utilized together with the Sound Barrier, chasing down the 4-man, making them pull away from the Cocoon target, saying turn and kill him. Medivh comes out here for Zealots, though, and that's a game changer.
Yeah, that's ADRD immediately heading for Medivh, so that's going to be interesting to see how much they can do with that too. And as you said, it's definitely a game changer in the sense that he, of course, can really protect against a lot of what Tricked is going to try and throw out here.
So when we saw ADRD on Medivh last year, we knew the team expert, now known as Method, were very powerful at working with those portals and utilizing them. Bad Benny and ADRD together just worked like peanut butter and jelly. Will Zealots have that mixture here? Will they have the teamwork and the synergy that we saw last year when we had ADRD be an absolute god on that hero?
Yeah, one of the points that for me is also interesting, you talk about synergy, and most of what we are talking with Medivh is, of course, how you use the portals properly, how you get that team synergy going. And we oftentimes highlight Malfurion as one of the heroes that can really work around that with good roots around the portals, but it's also true for Lucio, who can interrupt that. And that's something that I'm looking forward to see in the next game, because we talked about how Grandpa Keta had some really good moments in the games before. Ethan that also into his Lucio play around Medivh portals at this point, that would really make it very, very difficult for Medivh to have the impact that the Zealots are currently hoping for.
Yeah, for you at home that are wondering about it, whenever a portal is actually utilized, it's actually a slight channel that someone has to go through to get through that portal. So if a Lucio comes in and drops down the boop at the right time and finds a target and keeps them away from that portal, it's such a strong counter to the engage. All right, let's go ahead and get set up here for our fourth game. Tricked Esports has a chance here to take the entire series, but Zealots, they want to tie it up.
Game number 4, the lead for Tricked Esports as we are heading into Sky Temple, which could be our last map in the series. Mopsio on the left for the Zealots on Tyrael. We have AD on Medivh. Zamini, of course, on Sonya with Chat on Rega and Chris on Greymane.
On the right side, in the red, Tricked Esports, Crosby coming in with the Hanzo once again. Will he show us that Q build? Make will be playing Falstad, Alex Saprogi will be on the Malfield, Grant Paquette will be playing Lucio, and Rimmer will show off some Anubarak gameplay.
Immediate fly up. I see the watch tower. Okay, making sure that they get the vision here. Already a bit of damage pushed out by Hanzo. Again, heading into the Stormbow Talons.
Stormbow Talon's pretty good there whenever you're able to finish that quest. Mostly I enjoy the Q at level 4, the explosive arrow. The wave clear potential on it is just beautiful. I do enjoy some W builds here and there, especially if you want to go for some boss Gs to get a pick in the early stages. After post 7, you can burn it down with the team, but it is kind of telegraphed what you want to do with that type of build. Grab mercenary camps, which does leave you vulnerable to invades that could come your way. So the Q build might be a little bit safer, and that's why you're seeing it more from the pro teams.
Yeah, and also now the global in play for Tricked is going to give them a bit of an edge. Now, when we're talking about Sky Temple, of course, the first temple phase with the double temple opening up is usually something where we see a lot of changes happening, or exchanges happening, a lot of trades, and then it's all about the second phase at the bottom. And this is where the global usually kicks in, because you try to keep Falstad as long as you can up at the top lane, get some extra experience, and then fly back down to enter that 5 versus 5 fight a little bit later. And that small advantage can oftentimes translate into an extra talent for your team. So that's something that Tricked is going to try and pull off here. And ideally, of course, with a properly timed camp up at the top.
And speaking about small advantages, remember that big giant change now where the giants' auto attacks can now be dodged. Now you see a lot of teams at the minute mark moving straight into them, grabbing them as quickly as possible. And you'll see that here on Sky Temple.
For the longest time, that still threw me off so much when I was watching games. When I, for example, saw a Tracer start a mercenary camp, I'm like, what are you doing? There's no way you can get that. I was like, oh yeah, sorry, I forgot.
It's a big change, and some people aren't aware of it. So if you're at home, do realize you can dodge out in giant damage. I may or may not have had a Greymane die to the Giants a couple days ago, and I was a little disappointed in him. You can definitely dodge on those abilities, grab those Giants early, get them pushing.
I'm not angry.
I'm not angry, I'm just
disappointed.
And it's been 48 hours, and that memory is still sitting in my brain, so kind of a big deal. Kind of a big deal.
Good to know.
All right, well, the Giants get cleared up on the bottom side. The next goal is going to be the night camps. These are being grabbed so much earlier, guys. Don't be afraid to move in those mercenary camps. And also, make sure to scout your opponent. One of the good things that we saw here from Tricked Esport on the right side is that Lucio is using his speed to scout his opponents. He saw the Giants left side, which brought Tricked Esports to grab theirs on the right. Not the same here for the Knights, as Falstad will be defending it on the top, but they should be able to grab theirs at some point. And in fact, Zealots are setting up possibly an engage here with everyone being brought up.
Yeah, they were thinking about invading this one hard, but everyone on the side of Tricked Esports already was smelling that. Something was a little bit off, and then try to go in for that, so I like it. Nice damage here, but also AD already being ready and protecting Zarmini. You know, for me personally, it's really just fun to currently see what kind of... Oh, Crosby might fall, and he goes down. Hanzo is dead. And we have Grandpa also moving in. So that's actually moving us 5 quite a bit here. Really grouping up for this. But they also need to, since we always have an immediate answer by Trick trying to go in for a counter kill.
Now, while Hanzo did fall, Tricked Esports does have a nice trade-off with the top side pushing in with the mercenary camp and also already grabbing this temple on the top side. They are working on grabbing that fort, and with Zealous being a little bit delayed on their side, there is room for an invade from Trick to move down the middle. With Falstad just using Fly, I'm not expecting that to happen, but still, there are some counter measurements that can happen for both teams.
Yeah, right now it's still the dance around the middle where the topper has completely been taken over by Tricked. The only level 7 on the other hand for Zealots, so they are going to make their way back in for it. Actually at this point let it go. They have the experience on the lanes right now. But the one thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is that I'm personally really excited to see how the meta in Europe is going to shake up completely. Since it's one thing that you can take away from watching the training games of the teams, there are certain priorities on heroes where nearly every single team has a bit of a different opinion. We've been mentioning this with Hanzo already, for example. Right now, we have him picked in every single game. He didn't get banned as a first ban yet, but we haven't seen him as a first pick, for example, in one or two of these games already, as Alex confirms a kill here. And other teams that we've seen have Hanzo a little bit low on priority. Then we have, for example, on the tank setup, Arthur is being highly popular with some teams, whereas Trick didn't even pick him up as a last pick here. And then we have the Sonya priority for Zealots. We have Malthiel on the side of Tricked Esports. So every single team that we're currently seeing right now, which is just going to continue later with our next two teams making an appearance, has currently their own idea of the priority that a certain hero should have. And while they agree on some, there's a huge amount of disagreement on certain heroes and how much of an impact they will have for the European meta. And seeing that shape up over, let's say, this weekend alone already, is going to be super fun to watch.
That is, in fact, I find that to be completely exciting, knowing that we have teams that are going to have different takes on what the meta currently is. This is what we turn into the HGC for, to see what people think is strong, and then we can adapt it into our own gameplay. Already, I'm going to keep going into that Hanzo because I love him so much, but having Tyrael in the mix-up a lot is refreshing to see, especially with him having that rework coming next week that we should be seeing.
Yeah, the priority of Tyrael is another one of these aspects, as we said earlier, which is really cool. Seen him before, also in the West in general, in North America, in Europe, but every time we then have an offline event, Tyrael's priority spikes highly, and he gets played a lot more. And by now, we're seeing them reflected in the league play as well, and that alone is already very cool to see that happen again. But we're only on our first match. We're only on the first map. At this point, Tricked Esports and the Zealots, they have both one kill. We have a bit of a power play down at the bot lane, where Tricked Esports is attempting to get the value out of Forcer that we mentioned earlier, the global up at the top before the temple activates.
Trick is in a great position to grab this temple, though. With Rimmer on the left here, he has a control, being able to down the impale whenever someone comes in. Two of the members for Zealots on the top side grab the night cam to try and countermeasure that false set push that was coming their way. Trick getting the upper hand so far as a few more shots already going on top of the 4 on the bottom, and with Falstead in the middle, they can have that bird show up on any word that they say here. So Trick controlling the space here while ADRD floats around.
Yeah, you can tell though that the cam was taken a bit later than they wanted. They needed a bit more time to make it happen, and that allowed Trick to move in on the temple and get these first shots. So the camp is slowly making its way up to the top, where Alex is still getting some additional shots here down at the bottom temple and is starting to move in with the rest now. Trick is looking for an opportunity, and they are about to jump in here. Very short distance portal. The Zealots at this point, ADRD allows them to move back, but they have already taken a fair amount of poke, and they lost their own fountain a bit earlier. So at this point, they simply have to say, okay, guys, this is probably not going to happen for us. Let's move back and yield the ground to Trick.
Alex got a really good deadly carpet there that hit 5 members, and that was some great poke between that and Hanzo, which forced Zealots to pull away. And Tricked Esports is just in such a great spot. Make, maybe not so much there, is able to dodge out on the spear. Zarmany gets a little bit anxious there, and he barrel rolls away.
Yeah, if that spear hits, then it's lights out for the bird. But at this point, here comes the portal. Alex moves in with a Tormented Soul. And there's the stun. Great hit by Hanzo. They're trying to move in, but they can't follow it up with a Nubarak. It was a great ult that we just saw from Hanzo, but the follow-up just wasn't there. Alex was already on the retreat, and the Nubarak was a bit too far away to dive in, drop the cocoon, and the stun.
Yeah, it seemed like a little bit of miscommunication. The idea there is you're wanting to get the fight happening before that portal reduction comes on at level 13 for Medivh, and with him using that portal to escape the fight initially, it would have been a great engage, but I guess the boss being around that area was a little bit too worrisome for them to fight into. Another poke, though, as Zealots are making a play here on the boss. Sonya and Greymane putting some damage on it, and Trick is here to answer.
Yeah, Trick is immediately ready for it. And that's something that both of the teams have done really well throughout this entire game. We saw earlier the attempted invade by the Zealots, grouping up as 4 as 5, trying to go for the night camp, but Trick immediately responding in kind. So both of the teams are very aware of what's happening on the map and playing a lot around vision, trying to make sure that they're not getting caught alone, that they're always there. Strength in numbers.
Strength in numbers, and numbers are about to go up here for Tricked Esports as they hit level 13. Falset continues to push the top side, and Malthael works on the night camp. Trick can defend this slightly here, especially with the clear from Crosby, but there is always that threat of HRD dropping the portal and the team just straight up diving under the forts.
Yeah, there we go. But that top lane is a problem. That is a big problem, actually. All right, down here, that's going to be a lot of action, but Falset can get value at the top. Hanzo is already down. Falset stays at the top lane, and there's also a night camp that starts to move in. So 1 kill is all that the Zealots got for now. I'm not sure if that's really worth it. They need to get more out of this. They're grouping as 5 down here. Yes, they get a kill, but they are losing ground up at the top lane, and they need to get more experience down here.
Sonya has gone back for defense. Malthael in the middle lane. Does proc Zealots to continue their push on the bottom side while they have the Giant pushing in too. And they will get the fort. So the macro works out here for the Zealots. But you mentioned it, Trick on the top side does have that night camp up on the keep. Zarmany should be able to defend it, clearing that night camp on the backside first. That little wizard there giving the spell aura. And there we go. I actually think Zealots came out pretty nicely on that.
Yeah, Zealots. I mean, Zealots were okay with this, but Tricked also got a few structures, and the structural advantage on the map is something that's always important. Currently, the Zealots actually holds still 1 fort in the mid lane that's being attacked here. Alex gets the shot down at the bottom. Alex, be careful. Sonya finally is done with defending the top lane and can now move in, but this is a 5 versus 4 down here.
Chris takes some damage here from Alex. Alex looking for the fight. Big arrow coming in, and Nubrak following up as well. And here goes the Tormented Souls. Ancestor Healing will keep Chris alive, but ADRD, not so lucky. Zarmany hoping to turn the tides of battle, but with the big sound barrier coming out, Chris is looking.
Sound barrier, Chris is low and Chris is dead. Mopsio is also in trouble, running out of mana too. He gets obliterated. That's the triple kill right there. And Zarmany is trying to run away. Mayaka flying in. They want Sonya, and they are definitely going to get her. Grand Paquette is speeding them up as they move in for another kill, but Shat comes in from the fog of war. Trick doesn't see it, and then immediately there's the heal. They don't follow it up. They think Sonya is dead already, and instead of simply chasing her down, they turn around and go for the boss. The right choice in that moment, but they would have seen Rhaegar make that move. They would have followed up a little bit more to confirm that last kill as well.
Well, with it all said and done, they get a couple of kills, they get the boss, and they are working on grabbing the temples. Grand Paquette will be on the bottom side here, shelling away on the fort in the middle side. Should be able to get a couple of shots on that keep on the bottom left as well. And with Malthael already rotating their top side, we get level 16 for Tricked Esports and a second temple for the picking.
And if they get the top temple, this is keep. Because now that the mid fort is destroyed, the top temple is going to attack top keep, and the wall is completely gone already, as is the fountain. So if they get the shots up at the top, then that's a keep right away. And they're even getting another kill here. Medivh has fallen. We have Greymane defending the bot lane, and at any point now they can move to the top, make sure that the keep falls. They have already a huge experience advantage. Tricked Esports is playing a fantastic game today.
Medivh, not so much here, as ADRD has done a couple of times. He has yet to finish off his Master's Touch. Reset back to 0 with that latest kill there from Tricked Esport. Zealots hurting here, and they need to dig deep to keep up in this series. Remember, they're behind 2-1. They lose this match, they're out.
Yeah, Tricked is playing really nicely around the global that they have. They always create points where the Zealots need to defend. We saw that earlier with Falset pushing the top lane, the camp taken. Sonya was forced back. That allowed Tricked to engage into a 4 versus 5 fight at the bot lane. And it was really important that it was also the bottom temple that was fought over first. First of all, because it's the biggest distance between the bot lane temple and the top lane push that Tricked set up. And second of all, if they would have taken the temple at the top first, that temple would have finished off the fort in the mid lane, which means that the bottom temple, if it's taken second, only attacks the bottom lane. So then no keep falls. So this is really them maximizing what they can get out of the situation. Tricked is playing this incredibly well.
Zealots trying to make a play here while they are in a spot to do so. One more temple phase and they will be in the back foot. So they're deciding to try and force an engage, but Tricked Esport gets away easily there with Lucio helping out. And Crosby having the mobility there on Hanzo. Rimmer as well, peeling for the team, and ADRD scouts in the top right corner. Will they elect to fight in this area? I would say no. With Malthael and Tormented Souls and the Mighty Guts, it could be difficult. Mopsio, he goes in for the steal, and they get it.
They get the steal, but he might fall. He drops his ult, and the fight is already happening down here. Here comes the sound barrier, and a nice second holy ground to zone them out. Well done Bit of a risky move that we just saw on the side of the Zealots, and it nearly backfired as Mopsio was about to fall, but it worked out well in the end for them. The second holy ground zoning the entirety of Tricked Esports out, because that sound barrier that we saw from Grandpa Keta, that allowed Trick to move in again, and if they get the chase, that could have backfired very heavily, but Tyrael's second holy ground made sure that nobody could follow them.
Mopsio saving his team there. Zealots would have loved to have gotten a pick off there, would have helped them out. So two temples spawning very soon for them. One in the middle and one on the bottom side. On the bottom, we do see Medivh floating around against that Mountfield, which does proc a response from Tricked Esport. They all group up around this bush area, and Zealots, they're hungry. You can see it. They know they're at a spot where they have to make a play, but they aren't finding the opportunity. Trick is just not giving them the chance.
Trick with still the 2-level lead, taking... I mean, this is really the big problem. If you have a global against you this late into the game, Mopsio does it again. Steals another cannon here. He's really getting good at this. But we have it still at the top, and that's what I wanted to talk about, the global advantage that Tricked has now. So at this point, they can just make sure that they have more pressure on the top lane, which is eventually going to force a response, and then they can move in for a 5 versus 4 fight. So that is going to make this a little bit dicey. Tricked is also in a position where they can still yield some ground and just simply say, okay, we're playing towards the 20 advantage and try to maybe force a boss fight around that.
Their ground is running out though, as they lose a 4 on the top side. So they keep up in the middle. Falstad still floating around as you're mentioning on that bottom, clearing it up. Alex Aproji decides this is the engage. He moves in with Tormented Souls. Ley line sealed will be used as a disengage for Zealots. Mopsio turns around, drops a holy ground, will get the shield. Sandification being popped. Chris dives in, not able to find a target to kill, and he has to escape.
Harmony is about to fall. The top lane, by the way, is pushing in the meantime. Ancestral comes through and saves Sonya. Yeah, catapults are already on the core, and that's where you have to react. And again, that buys the time that Tricked needs to move straight in for the temple. Get a few shots in, and at the same time, move on to the lanes, get some experience, and start closer to 20. So now that small window that they had here already helps them to destroy a few structures, thanks to the objective. They get closer to level 20. They're still fighting for the last few shots that we see here, but here comes the engage by Zealots. Immediate boot by Lucio, well played by Grandpa Keta, trying to shut down that engage.
20 right around the corner. Trick doing everything they can to get away from the fight, and they do. And 20 is just a smidgen of experience, which Falstad is currently grabbing on the bottom side. And do remember, there's still a temple floating around that Trick can now use once they hit that 20.
And this is the temple as well, which is a massive problem, because it's the top lane that pushes against the Zealots. So again, catapults are accumulating at the top lane, and now the Zealots are again against level 20, 2 levels behind. The top lane is pressuring them, and the bottom temple is the one that's active. So they are currently in a spot. This is basically a loss-loss situation for them. What are you going to do? Because right now they don't want to take this fight, but they also don't want to lose the temple, since it could mean a second keep. And right now Tricked is just in hero's heaven at this point. They are in a position where they can fight, they can play the long game, they can play around with the global, they have all the aces in their hands.
They say Kalmari. That's what they have to do here. Go for the fight and land the Sank. The Sank gets interrupted. Sonya gets burned down because of it. Make comes in with a mighty gust, pushes Shad into the team. Rhaegar will be the target. Boom! There he goes. Alex Aproji going for a chase, but they don't even need it here. 2 people down, and Tricked Esports has made the play to move forward and start taking the game.
Tyrael is trying to escape, but he is blown up, and right now they make that move up to the top immediately. They go through the middle. They can take another keep down here and then go straight for a core. Can try and circumvent it as well, but at this point you might as well just burn it down one way or another. They're going for the core here, and they are going to take it. Tricked has the lead in the series already. They look fantastic with only 2 defenders left and no heroic ability on Medivh to slow it down. Tricked Esports is going to win the first best of 5 played in HGC Europe 2018 against the Zealots with a 3-1 score.
Huge congratulations to Tricked Esports, as you mentioned, getting the first victory here in 2018 in HGC Europe. A nice clean fight over the Zealots. Looked a little bit shaky for them at game number 1. Zealots obviously looking great on BOE. Their draft was wonderful, but Tricked Esports coming in game number 2, 3, and 4 and getting the 3 wins cleanly, and they're going to go ahead and continue to move on forward. But I do like the look of this new roster. It's got the identity of what we saw last year in 2017, but Grandpa Keta is just showing up here, and he seems to mold greatly with his team.
They have a great synergy. On the first map, it was the draft that was their biggest problem. But after that, they win 3 games in a row. And they just always looked, with very few exceptions, on point when it comes to communication. Sure. A couple of fights, couple of ults, where they said, okay, maybe the call was a little bit like weird at this point. We saw, even on Sky Temple, a great Hanzo ult, but already Alex moving out with Malthael and Nubarak not being in range, where it looked like the call was, okay, guys, we're moving away from the fight. And then at the same point said, hey, I got an opportunity here. We might be able to turn this around. It comes a bit too late. But those are just tiny things. And you're really nitpicking here in the first series that they play. Overall, they looked really strong. They looked on point. They looked like they had a game plan every time. And their drafts were also, outside of BOE, very, very strong. So Tricked is looking fantastic as they start into Phase 1.
Speaking of synergy, just looking at Rimmer and Crosby as they work together with Hanzo and the Tyrael on Infernal Shrines, that was just wonderful to see. If you have the chance to watch that VOD, go keep an eye on Hanzo and Rimmer and see how they work together with a Holy Ground utilized as the sanctification, giving Hanzo the point to do whatever he wants in the fight and drop in those Qs. Great job here by Tricked Esports. On this side, Zealots. Mopsy and crew are looking pretty good there. Started to falter towards the end, but this team definitely has some things they can do a little bit better, and they can become a team that goes up there. I'm trying to try to become 2017 Trick came back there for a second. I don't want to get too savage.
That team definitely has things they can do.
Things they can do. Some progress that can be worked on. But still, you can see that they have a foundation. And that's always great to watch.
Yeah, they definitely have potential.
Boom. Just like that. We're getting a call set up here so we can go ahead and interview our teams and continue to move on forward. Don't forget, we're still looking for those tweets on HGC, hit us up, hashtag us, let us know what you think of today's matches. Do you like the new Tricked Esports? Do you think Zealots are looking great there with ADRD now on the team as well as Chris? Do they have a spot they can be in here in the top 8? In fact, tell me, where do you think the Zealots will land in the top 8?
Also, you know what I felt from everything that I've read so far, and it really surprised me a bit, what most people are curious about and really just torn in their opinion, is how Liquid is going to do this season. That's actually really interesting to me, because for me the entire time was like, top 4. Not even
easy mode, but you get you get to see scrims. We have
true, but I still was like, okay, top 4 in my opinion. Even before I watched scrims, just talking to them and seeing just that confidence, saying like, guys, we are back. And then you look at it, and there's even some people that believe that they will have a rough time making it out of the Crucible spots. And I was like, huh, interesting. So that's definitely something we will see in our next best of 5 as well, since Team Liquid is going to play there.
That's right. We'll explore Team Liquid next. But for now, we have Make on the phone. Make, welcome to the HGC, and also congratulations. You guys get the big first win here in Europe. How you feeling, dude? I love seeing that smile from you.
I'm super happy, you get a bit nervous before the first game, but then when you win it, it's like, it's perfect. Like, that's the perfect way to start off.
I mean, I have to ask you, how was your off season, man? You got a couple of months off, like yourself. How was it?
It was great. I went to Asia and I was backpacking with my friend. Ooh. And I just took the break, and now I'm back super pumped. I just want to play HOTS.
Got some vitamin D, and now you're ready for Heroes. Yeah. Over to Caldor.
Yeah.
First of all, I really love the meta here. We had to look at Quacknick's bedroom that was never tidied up for like an entire year. So you dodged that by simply turning the lights off. I like that. Well done. But yeah, first of all, congratulations. You guys played a great series. You looked strong. Obvious question right now, how do you feel that Grandpa fits in? It looked like you guys were absolutely on point with their synergy. There were 1-2 moments, maybe one on Infernal, maybe one on Sky, where there looked like a bit of miscommunication. But overall, it looks like you guys are really unit right now. How do you feel he fits in, and would you agree with that?
Yes, I think Grandpa fits perfectly in our team. He is a really talented and mechanically skilled player. I think we still have something to work on. We have a bit of problems here and there, which are easily fixed, I would say. But overall, our team is looking really strong, and we're looking forward to this season. Like, we're looking forward to just the coming weeks.
So when we saw you guys last year, you were more in the you guys really enjoyed playing. You enjoyed playing as a team. You had a lot of fun. We could see that. But there was always the question of consistency. What's the goal for this year, and do you think that the consistency problem you had in 2017 is something that is going to make a reappearance, or do you feel that you guys are working towards a much more stable setup that you have
now? I think a bit of our problems was that we were having a bit too fun, maybe. And this season, we're looking to increase our practice and actually take it way more serious. And like just go full hardcore practice with, like, we're just looking to really succeed this season. And I think our mentality has changed towards the game and towards practicing and towards tryharding in general. And I think, yes, it's gonna, this season is gonna be more consistent, I would say, but like you never know, trick this. You can never say for sure.
All right, thank you very much. I mean, it was a pleasure to watch the games today, and yeah, all the best for the season now.
I look forward to a hardcore Tricked here as we get set up for the next couple of weeks. But speaking of hardcore, this Sunday, you got a match against a team that's pretty good right now, Dignitas. Any early thoughts?
We haven't practiced them at all, like for this before the match now, so I have no clue how good they are. I haven't played them a single time. I watched them in China, and they look strong, and I can imagine that they have practiced even more now, and they're even stronger. But honestly, I think we have a chance. If we play good, I think we can stand a chance for sure. I think we are the strongest we've ever been in Tricked with the Grandpa, and I think we stand a chance for sure.
Love the attitude, man. Well, gotta go ahead and let you go. Congratulations on your victory. Before you're gone, though, our favorite segment, shoutouts for everyone at home.
Okay, big shout out to Tricked, our sponsors. They're great. Shout out to Grandpa joining the team. Shout out to my teammates. Shout out to the fans and everyone watching, my friends and family. And also shout out to #GetTricked.
Yeah, there it is, guys. Well, congratulations to Tricked Esports. They get the big victory today over Team Zealots. Both teams looking good, but Tricked just a little bit better here. As we gear up for our next series, which is going to be a fun one, going back to your point earlier. What do you do?
That made me really happy.
Why did it make you happy?
I mean, the entire interview, the way that you're talking about this. We talked the entire idea about how they are like this group of friends that plays together. Now they are stepping it up and saying, hey, we still maintain that same attitude, but at the same time, we want to step it up and just become that stable team. So think about how much they achieved last year with just being like, okay, guys, we're going to have fun playing the game. Now think about what that's going to be once that they actually just completely go in with the try-hard mode. That he comes in and just says, we believe we can take Dignitas down. He obviously says it's going to be hard, but then he simply just says that they look good, but I think we can do it. I love that. The entire, guys, we can do this. This year we're going to go to the offline events. And I had my top 4 picked in my head. Right now, I'm not so sure anymore.
Oh, it's
I love
this. Now.
I love this.
Well, Make came in, was a little bit on the confident side. I want to hear it from Alex, though. If I hear Alex come in and he's super positive, I'm sold. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this series. We're gearing up for our next one. Leftovers taking on Team Liquid. We'll be right back with more HGC Gear Up.
They're going in. They want to go for the